I'm the happiest when I have to only teach Upanishads and discuss spirituality. Everything else is kind of a burden for me because that's the original role, that is the original reason for why I'm here. Everything else, like the social service and all other things like rituals, yajnas, it's for you people to benefit, or some patients or doctors or students and teachers to benefit. But my role as a teacher of truth, that is what Sat Guru means. You could be a management guru, you could be a yoga guru, you could be any other guru. But being a Sadguru means to teach the truth. And that is what is there in our Upanishads, the truth. Truth and nothing but the truth. That's what our Upanishads teach. So a Sadguru must teach the Upanishads. That is the most important job of a Sadguru, and that is what I am here to do. I'm very pleased with the way Ishavasya Upanishad was chanted by our students, led by the Vedic studies students. Correct pronunciations, the rhythm, all the intonations, clarity, these are very important. Because when we are chanting an Upanishad, we must remember these words are not ordinary, spoken by some ordinary people in an ordinary way. These are revelations to the rishis in their highest state of communion with the divine. In a way, these were the verses, the knowledge that was downloaded from the universe through the rishis' mind into these words and verses. So these are very sacred. These are as sacred as the verses of Quran for the Muslims, or the commandments for the Jews, or for that matter, any other teaching of any other religious master who has received that teaching in perfect unison in communion with the divine. The verses of Vedas, Upanishads are as important as that. The beauty of Sanatana Dharma is that all these was not given to just one person at one point of time like most of the other religions. These were revealed to various sages and saints over different periods of time. And they all selflessly, without putting their names and credits and copyrights, they offered it to the humanity at large for everybody's benefit. These verses of Ishavasya Upanishad are very concentrated essence of all the Upanishads. As you might have already known, there are 10 main Upanishads. And Upanishads are the philosophical part of the Vedas. Vedas have multiple things to offer to us. There are richas, which are mantras, using which we do our rituals. There are brahmanas, which are the way to do all these rituals, how to do these rituals. Aranyakas are there. What is the purpose, what is the essence and significance of those rituals? But all these comes under karma kanda, or the ritualistic part of our religion. All religions have rituals. So this is the ritualistic part of our religion. But the final fourth aspect of the Vedas is the philosophy, and that is called Vedanta. In normal terms, Veda Anta means end of Vedas, but it is not the end of Vedas. What it truly means is it is the ultimate essence, final word of the Vedas. All the rituals, the mantras, the understanding of why we do it should lead us to this final understanding of the philosophy of why we are doing things. This is why Upanishads are to be read. They really don't come in the end of the Vedas. Vedas are, there is no end to Vedas, they say. We have lost a lot of this knowledge. Now, what we have as Vedas is probably one tenth of what originally existed. Because over a period of time, a lot of these written books have been destroyed or gone out of circulation from public memory. But most of those verses that we chant today are the gifts of the Guru Shishya Parampara, the oral tradition of teaching and learning. Nobody can take away the knowledge that is within you. They can destroy the books, destroy computers, destroy server systems. They can corrupt all the information systems. But can they take away the knowledge that's already gone inside you? They cannot. So this knowledge got preserved through ages and ages because of this oral tradition of a guru sitting and teaching the Sishya to sit close by at the feet of Guru, to sit below, because the knowledge should flow from higher to the lower. You can't sit on top of Guru's head and learn. You have to be sitting lower so that Guru's knowledge, a kind of gravity should flow through you from Guru's head to your head, it should flow. Para to apara. That is why parampara it is called. Para means higher, apara means lower. Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara is the transfer of knowledge from the higher source to the lower recipient. So this Guru Shishya Parampara of oral traditions which made us memorize these verses is the reason why these texts still exist. Otherwise, most of it has been destroyed because of various invasions and other things. So we should be grateful to those gurus who have spent relentless hours of teaching and training the Shishyas and thereby passing on this knowledge to the next generation. And finally, today it is in our hand. We have to be very mindful, very respectful, and very grateful for what we are going to study. For because this has come out of sacrifices, penance, and selfless service of so many nameless, faceless, and selfless rishis and their sishyas. In brief, all the Vedas were finally classified by one rishi. His name was Veda Vyasa, it's called. Veda Vyasa composed and collated all the Vedas into four parts. We will learn about it as we go. And so each of these Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, they are there. And in that, various Upanishads are there. 10 main Upanishads are there. Isha is one of the first Upanishads when we talk about Isha. Then comes Kena. Then comes Katha. Then Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taitreya, Aitreya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka. These are 10 main Upanishads which became popular because of whom his name was Adi Shankaracharya. What did he do? He was born in South India, in Kerala, a place called Kaladi, and he was blessed by the mother goddess, Sharada, to write all these scriptures in a simpler way, to comment on them, to explain these scriptures. Each of these verses are highly potent, and they are also prone to misinterpretation by people if not understood correctly. So there has to be a master who has experienced the truth of these verses and thereby is able to comment on them correctly in order to make people understand. So always we have to bow down to this one man's contribution. Adi Shankaracharya, close to 1200 or 1300 years ago, when his guru Bhagavad Pada, Govinda Bhagavad Pada, gave him this job of writing commentaries on the scriptures and making it understandable to the common people. Not just that, his larger contribution is that not only he commented on these 10 Upanishads, but he also created four pithas in India, four schools or four temples. And these are in four directions of India. He walked the length and breadth of India on his foot. This is all 1200 years ago, through the forests and through all kinds of places. And he set up four matas. So these are the four main centers he established. He put four of his disciples over there. He didn't have too many disciples, but whoever he had, they were really worthy. And he caught four of them and placed them in four places, and they continued to propagate these Vedas, Upanishads, and things like that. So we are taking up the first Upanishad called the Ishavasya Upanishad. And this Upanishad, as Shankaracharya describes Upanishad, is made of three words, Upa, Ni, and Shat. Upa means close by or near. Ni means with Nishchayatmaka Buddhi, it says, with certainty, with no confusion, no uncertainty, with clear certainty, with clear determination. You should be able to understand that is what Ni represents. And Shad has three meanings, he says, Shankaracharya says. One is Himsa, which is destruction, Gati, which is movement, and Avasadhana, which is untying. These three things should happen when you read an Upanishad. Means Upa means you should get closer to the Guru, closer to the wisdom. Ni, in what way? In certain terms, with clarity, with no confusion in your head. You should understand by experiencing the truth. And what will happen when you get closer to a Guru, read an Upanishad and understand it in certain terms? These three things should happen. Himsa. Himsa means destruction of all your wrong ideas, all your misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and more importantly, this wrong knowledge that I am just the body which dies at the end of this lifetime. That wrong understanding should be destroyed. Asatoma Sadgamaya, they said, lead us from untruth to the truth. So, untruth should get destroyed in you. That is the Himsa part of it. Gati, a movement, a journey should begin with the reading of Upanishad. Journey from where? Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, from ignorance to wisdom. Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya, from the idea that we are limited, perishable human beings to the idea that we are immortal spirits, unperishable. And we cannot be destroyed with passage of time. This idea, this gati should happen to us. That is the second benefit of reading Upanishads. And the third is our sadhana. All the entanglements. You see, we are all entangled beings. We have got ourselves caught in all kinds of knots. Job is one knot, education is another one, family, relations, desires, ambitions, all these kinds of there. But our scriptures say there are three main knots. They come from these things: avidya, kama, and karma. They're called hridaya granthi. Avidya means wrong knowledge. Because of wrong knowledge, what do? You develop wrong desires. And because of wrong desires, you do wrong actions. These are the three knots, they should get loosened in you. Your wrong knowledge of things, wrong desires out of the wrong knowledge, and wrong actions to fulfill wrong desires, faulty desires. These three should get loosened in your heart when you finish reading an Upanishad. Now, what are these things? I'll just to make it interesting, let me tell you a story of what is wrong knowledge, wrong desire, and wrong action. So, there is this prince of Kashi who has now come of his age. He's a young, handsome man, and he wants to get married. And the whole kingdom is waiting for his marriage. So, this man wants to get married, but he has fallen in love with a girl, it seems. And who is this girl? He does not know because he has never seen her. But how did he find her? There is a portrait of this girl in the cellar of the palace. This is where he found the photo of the girl and he instantly fell in love with the girl. Aristotle says the cure for love at first sight is to have a closer second look. But this man did not have a closer second look. He simply fell for that girl in the portrait. And he was very sad because he could not find the girl. He did not know where she existed, how to find her. So one day his uncle, who was very close to him, saw his sad face and asked him, "What is bothering you?" And slowly he revealed that there is a picture of a girl in the cellar and she's so beautiful. I want to marry that princess, but I just do not know where to find her. He said, "There is a." So uncle was kind of surprised. He said, "Take me there and show me where that picture is. We will definitely search for the girl that you want. After all, you are our future king." So he took him to the cellar, and in all the storage that was there, he finally took out the portrait and said, "This is the girl I want to marry." Then uncle hit his head with his hand and said, "This is not any girl. This is you when you were young. Your silly mother dressed you up as a girl and got it painted. This is avidya, kama, karma." The wrong knowledge that there is another girl in the portrait who is very beautiful. The wrong desire that I want to marry the girl in the portrait who is very beautiful. And the wrong action of searching for the girl which never existed. This is what happens to most of us because we think we are humans who will be happy only if we are comfortable, we have pleasures of the world, we have all the achievements and ambitions fulfilled, we have lot of relations, friends, popularity, fame, name, wealth. We think all this is what going to give us happiness because we are seeking constantly, we are seeking happiness. Everybody is seeking happiness. But our understanding is wrong that the happiness comes from all these things. Because of that, we run after them, we develop desires for them, and we run after them. And one happiness is achieved. Let's say you achieve the first salary comes, you buy the first phone. So you bought the first one and you felt very happy that you are now possessing the best phone in the world. And just when you are happy, you realize they release the next one. And then you do not know where to get money to buy the next one because without that, you are not going to be happy when your friend is having that. So now you are doing everything in your mind to earn the money, save the money to buy the next phone. Just goes on. So also cars get upgraded, houses get upgraded, clothing, fashions change. And you keep hopping from one thing to the other. It's an endless chase for happiness because we think that will give us happiness. So wrong knowledge that what makes us happy and we run behind it and lifelong we suffer trying to achieve that. But we never find that happiness that always eludes us. So our Upanishad say develop the right understanding of what really makes you happy. Ananda Mimamsa. 10 to the power 20 times of human happiness is equal to divine joy. So this Upanishads tell us how to be permanently, eternally, completely happy. This is the idea of this Upanishad. So why should you read Upanishad? All wrong understanding will get destroyed. You will start traveling on this path, this journey from untruth to truth, from ignorance to wisdom, from mortality to the immortal existence. And ultimately, all these wrong understanding, wrong desires, wrong on knowledge, these which are holding you in a way ransom, they're strangulating you with their knots, all that will get loosened. You will feel free. And that freedom is liberation in India. Mukti, Mohak Chaya is moksha. All the delusions are destroyed. You are free now. You are nobody can bind you because desires bind us. We are free now. That is moksha. This is the benefit of reading Upanishad. So you should know why should we spend reading Upanishads. This is for our own benefit. Institution is not going to benefit. I am not going to benefit. Nobody else is going to benefit. You are the one who is going to benefit if you read these Upanishads correctly. The reading just does not mean memorizing it or reading the English translation of it, but to contemplate and practice. Try to practice this. And Ishavasya Upanishad is very practical. It gives you very practical tips to practice. Very simple and very logical, very relevant ways of practicing these truths. That's another benefit of Isha Upanishad. It's so simple. And finally thing I want to tell you about this Upanishad is also that first part of the Upanishad talks about certain values, morality, principles that are to be applied for practice. This is why first part is very important. Second part removes all the confusion between ritualistic worships and so to call the other paths of knowledge and other paths of spirituality and God. It clarifies all that. And finally, the last part simply is a prayer of submission of the Rishi to the divine, saying, I have tried to lead my life on moral principles. I have understood the right from wrong. Now, here I submit to you myself. You ultimately, your grace is what will give me the wisdom, and your grace will liberate me. I can do whatever effort I can put, but without divine grace or Guru's grace, you cannot achieve it at the end. It is a must. So human effort is only so much. But nevertheless, that's the first step. That's why you take one step towards me, I will take 100 steps towards you. The first step is to follow these principles of the Upanishads, practice them, and then Guru's grace will flow. You will get that grace marks that you need, and you will elevate yourself. You will pass the exam. You will liberate yourself. That's what happens in the sequence of the Upanishad. Every Upanishad starts with a Shanti mantra. This is just to begin the Upanishad by focusing our thoughts. Otherwise, our thoughts are all scattered. So you don't simply plunge into the exercise regime. You do some warm up. Likewise, these Shanti mantras set the tone for what's coming into in the Upanishad and how do you want to learn it. So this Shanti mantra is one of the most powerful Shanti mantras, and it has the essence of Sanatana Dharma in it. One, this mantra, if you understand and practice, you don't need any other Upanishad. And what does it say? Om. Om is the representation, symbolic representation of the ultimate supreme reality of divinity as per Indian scriptures. Like a cross is the representation of Christ, or let's say of moon and the star, crescent and the star is the representation of the faith of Muslims in Allah. So all these religious symbols are there who represent their faith in the divine, supreme divine that they worship. As Sanatana Dharma followers, as Hindus, our symbol to define that Godhood is Om. How did this Om become our symbol? Is very scientific actually. That will be for another day sometime. But if you go and break down all the vibrational frequencies that are existing in the universe, the final vibrational frequency is that of this sound of Om. Now it's being proven. How did the rishis decide that this sound is the basis of everything? Again, as I said, they were connected to the divine. That knowledge just came to them on its own because they were just so connected. So when they thought what should be the best way to represent Indian idea of supreme God, they could not think of anything other than Om. It's just one symbol, Om. And then it talks about there is a whole description of Om in various Upanishads. But for now, just remember that when you see Om, you remember the supreme godhood of Sanatana Dharma. Like when you see your flag, national flag, you remember the whole country, all the cultural values, all the people. Like that, when you see Om, you must remember God. That is the idea in Sanatana Dharma. So Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate is the first line. It says Purnamadaha. That is complete. What about this? This is also complete. This is also perfect. This is also full. Purnamudachyate. And from fullness has come fullness. This completeness has generated the completeness. I will explain to you later. Purnasya Purnamadaya. And if you take out this completeness from completeness, what remains is also completeness. This is the idea of this Shanti mantra. It's quite like a puzzle. No, it's like we ask puzzles to our kids. Tell me what is that which is complete here, complete there. Even if it's added, if anything added to it, it's complete. Even if something is removed from it, it is complete. Tell me what it is. That is what the mantra is asking us. And that is Godhood, it says. Om, that is Om. Why it's complete? What is this meaning? God is in everything, everywhere, in all aspects of every part of creation. Therefore, if you think of God as the basis of everything, God is in everything. That is the idea of our Upanishad, saying that God is everywhere in everything. Now, what is this God? Is there a person living up above in the heaven with a beard and flowing gowns or various jewelry and lot of weapons? No, Indian idea of God is not that. Then you worship these Devis, Devatas, Navaratri, Homa, Yajna. What about those? They're representatives of the ultimate God. But the ultimate God in India has no name, no form, no attributes, nothing. He is simply an existence. Like electricity is an existence which makes the bulbs shine, which makes the mic work, which makes the sound system come alive, which makes the fan turn. It engages with all these things and makes all these things become alive. But by itself, electricity is neither wind, nor light, nor sound, nor anything. It's just a force, it's just energy, it's just an existence without any name, form, shape, or anything. Likewise, the ultimate supreme Godhood is considered as that existential reality which animates everything. Once it engages with the world, it animates everything, it makes everything come alive. So that is the idea of Om and Supreme Godhood. This is very important. This is called Nirguna, Nirakara, Brahma. Nirguna means there is no particular quality. It is not happy or sad. It is not tall or short. It is not young or old. It is not here or not there. All these things are not existent in that, non-existent. So that is the idea of Supreme Godhood in India and in Sanatana Dharma, and that is what we celebrate as oneness. Only one truth spoken of in many ways. We all believe in that oneness because that one supreme substratum is Godhood. That is the idea of Indian God. It seems there was a conference of many religions, and they were all discussing about unity of religions and unity of God. So they all had discussion, and they all concluded that yes, there is only one God. So everybody thought all the problems in the world are over. Everybody can go home. No more wars. Just then we are about to conclude. Suddenly they started fighting again. All these religious leaders. Now the organizer asked, "What's wrong? Just now we concluded there is only one God." They said, "Yes, we all agree there is one God, but which is that one God? The Muslim God, the Hindu God, the Jewish God?" So we're back to fighting again because they have not understood the Upanishad. They only read it, they have memorized it, and they're just talking about it. They have not understood. If they experience the oneness, where is the question of fighting? Because whichever God you call him by whichever name, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bhavdavadanti, they can be called in many ways. So this idea of Upanishad that we believe in that oneness of one divinity, call him by whatever name, doesn't matter. Tanni, Neeru, Jala, water, aqua, call it by whatever. Only when you drink, you know this is the same thing. If I put in five different bottles and put five labels in five languages, you would not know which is which. But when you open the bottle and drink and you realize the taste of it, you know all of it is water only. Because it quenches our thirst. That is the idea of Indian spirituality. All is one only. They are called by different names. And this is the idea of Purna Madaha, that everything is one and the same. It looks different because of external ways, but ultimately is one. Before this hall came into existence, there was this space. When the hall was built, was the space destroyed? Did the space disappear? No, the space became this hall. So when I expand this hall, will the space get destroyed? Will the space get modified? Will the space change? No, the space is same. Enclosure of this hall may change. The size of the hall may change. But the ultimate idea of space, which is inside every cell of our body, also inside this hall, also outside this hall, is one and the same. So our Upanishads don't look at these external differences, they look at the internal sameness. Like the space is same, whether it's in the cell of your body, in the atom of this chair, or in this hall, or outside this hall, that space is one and the same. Likewise, this divinity one and the same. If I build a hall, space does not become half now. Or if I expand the hall, space does not become double. Hall may become double the size, but the ultimate space which permeates the entire universe does not decrease or increase. So also is this concept of Om, God, or Brahman, which we call. Brahman is originating from the word called Bruhat. Brihat means expansive, vast, endless. That is the idea of divinity, like the space. Do you know where the space ends? You will say after Chikbalapur, it is Karnataka, after that India, then Asia, then the world. After world, there is this whole galaxy. After that, the universe in which we live. After universe, some other universe. Tell me, where is the end of this space? Nobody knows. It's endless. Likewise, the closest to God is space. Akasha, we call it in our scriptures. From that ultimate supreme Godhood came Akasha as the first manifestation, which is the closest to explaining God is. Because God cannot be explained, he has to be experienced. But the closest explanation you do is space, like space is everywhere, God is everywhere. It cannot be reduced, halved, it can't be increased because the total space in the universe is one and the same. That is the idea of supreme godhood in India. We call it as Arundhati Nyaya because there is this two stars, Arundhati and Vashishta. There are two stars in the sky. So those two stars, we cannot see one of them because one is very dim. To see the one dim star, we have to show the brighter and say, look at the brighter star, and next to it, that's dim star which is there, that is the other one. Likewise, we cannot show God, but we can show the idea of space. How space is complete, Purnam. You cannot reduce to anything from space. You cannot add anything to the total space of the universe. Like that, existence of God is complete and full. Even if a few more people die, Brahman won't become less. And few more people are added to the universe, but Brahman will not become more. Like if you add few more houses to this town, the total space of the town is not changing. If you destroy a few houses, the total space of the town is not increasing. Likewise, God does not increase or decrease, that supreme reality of consciousness. And our scriptures have defined the most precise definition of God is comes from Taittiriya Upanishad. Brahma vidapnoti param tadesha bhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma. That Brahman is defined by three words. Satyam, truth, it exists because it does not, you can't see it with eyes, so you will decide it doesn't exist. But you can't see America also with your eyes. Like that, Brahman we may not be able to see with the eyes, but it exists. Truth. Second, and exists at all times, like space. Second, awareness, jnanam. Jnanam means it's completely aware. You may say that existence is a dead force or a mechanical force or some kind of a energy which does not have any intelligence of its own. No, it's supremely intelligent. This is what quantum mechanics is getting there. When you break down all the atoms, you find space, and we call that as unified field theory now. Einstein proposed it long ago. And this field theory talks about that whole universe is nothing but a field of energy. And what kind of energy? So far, they call it as gravitational energy or nuclear energy, weak nuclear or strong nuclear forces, and things like that. But the truth of all truths is that it has an intelligence, it has innate intelligence. That's what keeps two atoms apart, that's what keeps molecules apart at certain distance. That's why hydrogen has only whatever one or helium has two. How does it all happen? Who decided? How it was designed? It was all designed because of there is a supreme intelligence. Science is yet to reach there. Upanishads have concluded long, long ago because science thought Earth was flat till 16th century. And Galileo who proposed, no, it is not flat, it is round. He was put in the jail and tormented for being blasphemous by the church. However, our rishis knew, they used to call it Bhugola. Bhugola means round. Of course, our rishis got other things wrong. Like they said, Earth is the center of the universe and sun and all go around. That's how they decided. But there is also symbolism to it because what is the center of our world? Where we exist is our center. That's all we think. For a mother, the center of her world is her house, her home. For a businessman, the center of his universe is his business. Likewise, for rishis or we who lived on earth, we thought of it as the center of the universe. But nevertheless, our calculations were all right, even keeping this as the center. So the idea is that Brahman is everywhere in everything. We cannot be reduced or increased or added or subtracted. He is complete all the time. And when we identify ourselves with that completeness, that infinity, Anantam, then we will give up this fear. The Upanishad says that Anandam Brahmano Vidwan na vibheti kutaschaneti. The one who knows that Brahman has the supreme blissful state of existence without any fear. Abhayasya pare, it is said, without any fear. Such a person is liberated. He does not know what is fear anymore. He becomes fearless. Why? Fear comes from what? Our desires, our attachments, our possessions, and biggest fear is fear of death. Because once you die, nothing remains. So fear of death also disappears because you cannot be destroyed because you are Brahman. So identification happens correctly. All the wrong knowledge disappears. This one mantra of Purnamada Purnamidam, if you meditate and contemplate on, can liberate you from all kinds of fears, anxieties, all kinds of wrong understanding, wrong desires, and wrong actions and wrong reactions to it. Everything will disappear if you just believe that you are that expanse of divinity and not this contracting, destructible, mortal human body. Then everything becomes different. The whole attitude towards life changes. And that is how I look at. That's why I cannot be afraid. If you are not afraid, we will never do wrong things. Nobody can control us. We will never be slave to anybody, or including our own mind and senses. So this fearlessness is the gift of mantra of Purnamadam, Purnamidam. Please chant it every day whenever you can and meditate. Everything is complete. Everything is perfect. Everything is full. I am a part of that fullness. In fact, I am that fullness. And nothing I lose when I lose thing or two. I do not diminish with my aging body. All these ideas, when you start reinforcing to yourself, fear of death, fear of losing things, relations, attachments of things, objects, all will just disappear, like the morning dew that disappears when the sun rises. The fog disappears when the sun rises. It will just disappear. And that is the idea of Asatoma Sadgamaya. So I'll take up the first shloka of this Upanishad, which is again the essence of all that you can ever think of. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjitha magrudah kasya svidhanam. Isha, the word Isha means Lord, the Master, the owner. Isha. And this idea of lordship is the idea of the supreme Brahman, because it is everything, it owns everything. I won't call the Brahman as he or she, because the moment I say he, then there will be people saying why there should be male dominance in Brahman, or if I say she, then feminism. So Brahman has no feminine or masculine quality. Shiva Shakti has a quality which I am explained, that generative force is the feminine force. Imagine to be a feminine force, like motherland. It is a mother, we call it, but it could have been fatherland too, or uncle land too, or maybe aunt land too, but I don't know why motherland. Motherland because it provides, nourishes, nurtures, protects like a mother. So the generative energy is considered as feminine, and the non-generative, the steady energy is known as Shiva, or the supreme masculine force. Something like potential and kinetic energy, you can think. If Shiva is the potential energy, Shakti is the kinetic energy, which is dynamic, which is kinetic. So that is how. But beyond these two energies, there is one substratum, consciousness, from where both have also emerged. That is the idea of Brahman. And this Brahman is the Isha. Isha means Lord. Ishvara, we call Shiva as Ishvara. These are names we call. But the truth is that Isha is, we are referring to that Om Parabrahma, which is the ultimate reality. So Isha, Vasyamidam Saram. Vasa means who resides. It resides in things. What things? Idam Sarvam, in all these things. Whatever you can see, hear, taste, smell, touch, experience, and not even be able to experience, even the minutest of the bacteria and the atom and subatomic particles, that alone exist. Isha Vasam, he alone resides, or it alone resides. In Yatkinchat Jagatyam Jagati. Whatever you can think of. So you may ask, does it reside in this table? Yes. Does it reside in this mic? Yes. Does it reside in this carpet? Yes. Does it reside in me? Yes. Does it reside in the sinners? Yes. Does it reside in the saints? Yes. Resides in everything and everyone. Then why people are behaving differently? They should all be behaving the same. If it resides, why bulb is behaving differently from the fan if electricity resides in both? Because they have some other qualities called the mind and the vasanas and things like that. Like the gadgets have different purposes. So the same energy expresses itself through various of us, multiple people in multiple ways, because it filters to the mind and our emotions and other things. The idea is that that one supreme consciousness, that ultimate source, ultimate source of everything, resides in everything. Jagatyam Jagat. Jagat made of two words, Jagat. Ja means to come into existence, Gat means to go out of existence. So the world is constantly changing because things are coming into existence and things are going out of existence. 100 years back, none of us were in existence. 100 years later, none of us will be in existence. So the world is dynamic, constantly changing. See, in every of these changing reality, the unchanging thing is Supreme Brahman. That is the idea why it says, in all the changing things, you remain unchanged. The electricity which just passed and got into that bulb became light. Now the circuit completes, it gets into the audio system, becomes sound. Audio, light, all these will change. The electricity remains the same. Likewise, that Isha, the one who permeates everything, resides in all, resides in every single aspect of this universe. So only our country, we worshipped everything. We worship trees, we worship rivers, mountains. Even if you suppose, by mistake, step on your books or step on something or someone, immediately, instinctively we do namaskar to them. We apologize because we believe that also is Lord is there in that. That's why we can worship idols, and there is no problem with that. Or we need not worship idols. There is no problem with that either. Because in everything God resides. How does it matter? In fact, when Dattatreya met our Parshurama, Parshurama has finished all the Kshatriyas. He was very angry with Kshatriyas because one king killed his father. So then he went on killing everybody. And he was so frustrated and agitated, he had no peace of mind. That's when he meets Dattatreya. And Dattatreya tells Parshurama, I will give you the highest wisdom. But first you do one penance for next 12 years. And what should I do penance? He told you have to worship Tripura, the mother, who resides in all the three lokas, means everywhere. The same concept of Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. You have to worship her. Okay, give me something to worship. How do I worship? He goes around because the forest, he picks up a piece of stone and tells, take this stone. This is Tripura. Go around circumambulating and worshipping her. And when you are ready, I will appear again to teach you next what you should do. He just gives him a piece of stone, says, this is your mother goddess, this is what you have to worship. But then you will say, where is the hand, where is the leg, where is the eye, where is the body? Nothing. It's just a concept that God resides in everything. Lingam has nothing. Still we worship. Because Indians knew that everything is permeated by that same divine force. So there's no problem in worshipping anybody as long as you have this faith, you have this understanding that God exists in everything. That's why we worship everything. We worship cows, we worship trees and plants, and we are told very clearly, we should not hurt anybody, we should not harm anybody. Because in everything there is divine. In fact, when we were kids, in the evening when I wanted to go out and pluck flowers, my grandmother would say, don't touch those flowers. They're sleeping. I said, how can flowers sleep? The idea was don't disturb anybody unnecessarily. When you don't need the flowers, why do you want to go and pluck and disturb the plant? Ahimsa, non-violence, emanates from this very idea that everything is made of the same supreme source which you are made of. Now, why would you hurt your own leg, you tell me? Sometimes, as I keep telling you, you bite your tongue with your own teeth. What do? Go to the dentist in the hospital, tell, remove all my teeth, these are biting my tongue. We don't do that, right? Why we don't do that? The teeth is also me and the tongue is also me, and by mistake it has bitten. Next time you'll be careful not to bite. Because we are made of the same God, all of us. Therefore, there is no need to us to hurt each other. No need for us to harm each other, to be violent, to be selfish, to be greedy, to hoard, to deny others what they need, just because we are more powerful. It is not allowed because we are all made of the same thing. This realization alone is one shloka of Isha Upanishad, you see, is the solution to the problems of the world. This is the idea. Then tena tyaktena bunjita. So once you know everything is permeated by God, what should be your behavior? What should be your reaction? Many times when I go somewhere, they don't know me. They might have heard of me, like I went for a recent event, but some of them did not know they didn't have the face to the name. So when I walked in, they knew some Sadguruji is coming like that. But when I walked in, when they realized that I am that Sadguru, they became very respectful. Till they were happily sitting on the chairs, looking here and there. But when they realized that I am that Sadguru that they were waiting for, they immediately got up and respected. Because they became aware who I was. Like that, once you become aware who the next person is, what these things are made of, what this whole universe is made of, you will develop respect and reverence. Why? Because everything is God. How can I hurt anybody? So this idea of Isha Upanishad tells us how to behave in the world. Behave with this respect and reverence for everything, for all creation. And what is the way to behave? These are the moral principles straight away taught here. Tena chaktena bunjitha. Therefore, enjoy this world. Consume what you need to consume, but with sacrifice. It didn't say first to consume and then you see what you can sacrifice or what you can't sacrifice. It simply says first sacrifice. Tyaktena punjita. Tyaja, then you bhuja. First you sacrifice and then you eat. It means before eating, I think, has other people in my family eaten? Like mother thinks, isn't it? She makes something nice, she likes it. She doesn't finish off everything and then say, oh, this is all is left. Please eat whatever is left. No, she worries. This will be sufficient for everybody. I have to keep their portions aside, and then only she would eat. So the idea of sacrifice is first and consumption is later, because you believe everything is divine. You don't want to hurt anyone inadvertently, also in your ignorance, also. What a powerful mantra. Gandhiji was asked, tell me your philosophy in 3 words. And he used these 3 words: Tena tyaktena bhunjita, sacrifice and consume. Sacrifice and enjoy. Don't enjoy and then see whether you can sacrifice, because there's no limit to enjoyment. So worry about others, think about others, keep others also in your mind before you start to enjoy your life. Then the world will be a better place for all to live in. With so much of wealth in the world, 800 million go to bed hungry every night. Hundreds and thousands of kids don't go to school. Millions of people don't have access to clean, safe water. What's going on is my question. When you have everything at your disposal, you have such a huge economy, so much of GDP. Why is it that some countries don't even have water to drink and food to eat? Why their children don't go to school? Why they die for lack of health care? It's from simple diseases like cold and fever. What is going on is my question, because they have not understood this essence of oneness. Therefore, they think they are different, we are different. We have earned this money, we are smarter race, we have all the power. Therefore, we will enjoy what we have earned. Why should we bother about if they have not had this? Let them suffer because they didn't. This is the idea of differences and discrimination which is causing all the havoc in the world. But one verse, Tena Tyaktena Bhujita, can set everything right. And what is a Ma Grudha Kisya Siddhanam? This is even more powerful. Do not take. Ma Grudha means forcibly grab. What? Kasyas Vidhanam. Anyone else's dhanam means wealth. You would say, why would somebody steal or grab or take away somebody's wealth? Of course, criminals will do that. A big country, powerful country can always attack a small country, poor country, weak country and grab things. We have seen what happened in last 2 centuries. And even now it is happening. Because you have power, you want might is right, you take whatever you want. No, that's not the right thing. But this is not just talking about taking things forcefully of others. This is going even deeper. What it says, do not take another man's things or wealth, another person's belongings, do not grab them. What is trying to say, do not take anything more than your need. Now you tell me, when you have earned some money, it's lying in your bank account, somebody does a fraud, takes away the money, I understand this is perfect shloka. Somebody should not steal somebody's money. But our Upanishads are not so shallow. What it's trying to say, the whole world is permeated by God, and God has created all this for everyone's sake. We all have equal rights over all the resources that God has created. Therefore, we should take only as much as we need and leave the rest for others. So the only idea is consume less. What is sustainability, climate change, SDG we are talking about? Simple. The one formula for sustainability is give more, take less. Just because you have the power to mine whatever you want and use as much of river water, as many forests, doesn't mean that you should keep blindly, madly using it to run your economies or become richer. Because that is affecting, if the Amazon forests get burnt, the lungs of earth as they call them now, it's not just going to affect the Brazilians or the Argentinians or the South America. It will affect the whole world, because those forests was not just created for those people who lived there. It was created for the whole of humanity. Oceans are for whole of humanity. The environment, the climate is for whole of humanity, for even birds, bees, aquatic animals, for everyone. Just because you have more power, you cannot misuse them, you cannot overuse them, abuse them. This is the idea. Do not take another man's wealth, mean do not take more than your requirement. Then what will happen? The resources will become available to others also, because they'll become affordable. Therefore, they will become available to others also. Even a poor man will be able to afford a house, afford clothing, education, because rich have not cornered it all for themselves. Powerful have not just grabbed it all for themselves. So this is the idea of sharing and caring that Ishavasya Upanishad teaches, but it doesn't teach you all these principles on a socialistic idea or a communistic idea or even democratic idea. It teaches you all this on the spiritual idea that we are one as the divine beings. We are permeated by the same divine. Therefore, there is no need to grab. There is no need to steal. There is no need to hurt. The right approach to life is to sacrifice and then consume, so that there is something available for everybody in the world. Nobody starves, nobody suffers, including animals and birds and plants and soil and climate, everything. Because everything is divine. How can I pollute air or water or whatever? Because that is also divine. So this one sloka of Ishavasya Upanishad can really, really change the entire dynamics of the way world is. But where does it begin? It begins with you. Don't think you will become some UN whatever Secretary General, then you will implement all these ideas. No, implement now, today, here. First, don't eat more dosas than what you are supposed to eat in the hostel. Just because nobody is watching, grab another and gobble it. Somebody will get less. Don't take all the sports ground. Give chance to your juniors also, youngsters also to come and share. Don't take all of it yourself. Don't hide library books in your cupboards so that you only get marks and others do not get access to it. And when you give, you're not giving to somebody else, you're gifting yourself. You feel like that. Like a father feels like gifting things to his own children. He doesn't feel he's doing a favor or he's losing. His wealth is deteriorating. He doesn't feel like that. Why? Because it's also me, it's also part of me. But when you have to give it to somebody else, then you start thinking, why should I give? How much should I give? Is this enough? Is that enough? Why? Because they are others. This idea of otherness disappears in the Ishavasya Upanishad. There is no other. There is no other. There is only you. This idea, if the whole world gets it right, I'm not saying people should starve and deny themselves their basic requirements of life. No. According to your life, your dignity, your position, your job, maintain what you need to do. I don't want people to walk in tatters in a show of austerity. Not required. You are the president of a company, you should behave like one. Should wear and dress and talk and walk and eat accordingly. Like Janaka Maharaja. Best example. Ashtavakra was his guru, Janaka Maharaja. He was a king by the day and a monk by the night. Once he's finished with his duties, he'll take out all his jewelry, crown, everything, sleep in a simple bed on the floor, not bothered about all these luxuries. The next morning he wakes up, he has to sit on the throne and rule the kingdom. He'll again put on all the costumes, whatever, like a drama actor. That's all we have to do in this world. Act like the actors in a play. And don't be attached to the roles and costumes. Imagine you have a program and then you give all the costumes to people and the actor says, I like this costume, I'm running away with it to my home. The director's plight, these are all we have hired from the costume shop. We have to return it. Cannot happen. That's how Ishavasya Upanishad is. Just take as much you require. What you don't need does not belong to you. It belongs to somebody whose need is greater than yours. Period. No discussions after that. And why should you be willing to give it away? Because he's also you, she's also you, they are also you. It is also you. They are not different from you. And if we can create a world like this which believes in these principles, you can only imagine how this world can become a better place than what it is today. All the greed and selfishness and cruelty and criminal ideas will disappear. And we all will become a happy, big one world family where everybody lives for other and all live for God. That is what I keep telling. Each lives for the other and all live for God because God is in everyone and everything. This is the idea of Ishavasya Upanishad. Just one shloka. See, we have not even gone to the second shloka. This can solve all the problems of the world if only it is practiced in letter and spirit. It can solve all the problems of the world. So, what are we doing in Mudanali here in this mission? I'm trying to practice this mantra. I tell people if you don't need it, use it for some better purpose. Let it be for greater good of those who need this more than you. And that's it. With that, we are able to solve so many problems. In last 12 years, how many problems we have solved? How did it happen? Tena tyaktena bunjida is the reason. Mahagudha kasya svidhanam is the reason. Ishavasya vidam sarvam is the reason. Nothing else. We believe everything is divine, all deserve the same quality of life, same opportunities, same things. And how do we make it available? By sacrificing what we don't need for somebody else's sake whose need is greater and not taking more than what we require from the society. These are the two, three principles we have followed in our mission, and look at what it has done to the humanity. If every institution, organization, every person in the world starts thinking like this, do we need any godly intervention to save the world? You tell me. We don't need avatars. You don't have to trouble avatars and gurus and others to come again and again. They can be happily in their heavens and enjoy their heavenly residence. But they have to come and suffer like us, become one like us, and go through all the trauma and trials and tribulations of human existence, of ignorance, just because they want to set things right. Now, this is where I always think of Bhagwan, and in some way I experience that now. That I heard the story of how Abraham Lincoln was going for his first presidential meeting. Now, it's a big thing. Abraham Lincoln was not like some uh, white man political background. He just grew from nothing, but he was huge proponent of equality. He's the one, who removed this slavery and abolished slavery in the US at the cost of his own life. So he went all the way to get it done. And this man, when he was traveling in his car to go to whatever, the Senate, he's heard the squeals of a piglet. And when he heard that, he stopped the car and immediately opened the door, rushed to the rescue of that piglet, which was stuck in some kind of slush. And he got himself into that and pulled that piglet out and left it out in a safe, solid ground, and then got back to the car. People who were watching, they said, "Why did you do this? For the sake of one piglet? After all, you're the president of this country." He said, "I did not do it for the sake of the piglet. I did it for my own sake. Because I was not at peace when I heard that piglet squeal and cry. I had to do something about it to get back my peace. Otherwise, I would not have been at peace." So, why do you do seva? Why do you sacrifice? Why should you not grab another man's wealth? Not because you're doing a favor to them, you're doing a favor to yourself. And what is that favor you're doing to yourself? Upanishad. You are able to realize the truth and get away from this wrong understanding of things, get away from ignorance, and thereby act correctly in the world, right? Have right desires, right actions, right knowledge, which will liberate you. So I categorize these people into four categories. Rogis, the sick, are those who take things. Like a person keeps eating but never removes it from the body. Will he not become sick? People are like that. Sick people, I call them rogi. The second category is bogis. Bogis take so much as much they give. In the sense, if you go to a shop, they say this is worth $200. You pay $200 and take it. You don't give more than that to anybody because you enjoy it, you take it, you use it, and that's it. You don't think of others. That is bhogi. The consumerism is all about that. Then tyagi, the people of sacrifice, they give more than what they take. They always think, how can I add more value to the society than what I take from? These are the monks and mendicants and sannyasis and tyagajivis who take very little. They wear very few clothes. They live in simple dorms. They eat very simple food. They don't hoard things. It's just a blissful thing to live as perfectly surrendered children of God. It's a blissful thing. Somebody bothers about it. Imagine a little baby. It's a king in itself. Wakes up, makes a big noise, and mother comes rushing to feed the baby. And then makes another big cry, and somebody comes and cleans it. And cries again, somebody puts it back to sleep. And cries again, somebody takes around. Living like a king, actually. A perfectly surrendered devotee becomes like that. God will rush. The moment devotee cries, "God, where are you?" Immediately it is by his side to support, to do what is required. Because he's totally dependent. The baby has no capacity, nor it has plans, nor it has abilities to look after itself. So the grandfather, grandmother, or the father, mother take the responsibility of the baby, saying that, "Oh, this poor baby has no backup plans, nothing. It has to be looked after by us." So they take the responsibility of it. Likewise, the devotee who is perfectly surrendered and selfless, he doesn't even have to cry. Before that, only God is there to look after them. And sometimes you will say, "No, no, we have tried this, but sometimes God has not looked after us." That is because it's not your feeding time. That's why He's not fed you. You will spoil your stomach if you eat more. Just now you were fed, again you want again, you will spoil your stomach. Even mother will deny child some food because the overeating may cause damage to the child. Likewise, God knows when to give, how much to give, when not to give, how much not to give. Leave it to Him, leave it to that divine, that supreme consciousness, that intelligence, that energy that is in all of us. And I have seen it. This is my practical experience. Whenever we needed something, I just had to really deeply think about it. That is it necessary? If it's necessary, please make sure it is done. And I don't pray to one particular God that, you do it. Like people say, do Lakshmi Kubera Homa. They hold all the wealth. But I know behind them, beyond them, there is another force that controls them also. And I only pray. And whatever has to happen, happens. Why? Because that force, that supreme divinity knows he is totally dependent on me. He has no other strength other than me. He has only me as his everything. Tvameva mata pita tvameva, tvameva bandhushta sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. How many of us live this shloka in letter and spirit, you tell me? That you alone are our father, you are our mother, you are our everything, you are our friend, you are our wealth, you are our knowledge, you are in fact everything to us. There's nothing that you are not. We say it very easily, but how many of us really feel it and live it? Those who live it will experience all these truths. And their life's journey will become such a joy ride. This is what you need to practice from Purnamada, Purnamidam, or to Ishavasya Sarvam, or to Tena Tektena Bunjita, or by Magrada Kristyatuttanam. If you just do this much, every problem of the world can be solved. Your own problems will be solved. Your anxieties, fears, and this whole planning, and suffering will disappear. So the second shloka says, Kurvan neveha karmani jijivishet shatam samaha evam tvai nanya thetosti na karma lipyate nare. Even if you want to live for 100 years, we were blessed. Shatamanam bhavati shatayuhu. Our Rishi says live 100 years because they know we need 100 full years to realize God. Less than that, we may not be able to realize. We need that much time. So they gave us 100 years. And the shloka says, even if you want to live for 100 years and, and act in this world, because you cannot live without acting, what can you do? Even then, you have no other way than to live according to the first shloka. If you want your actions not to bind you, then you have to live according to the principles of first shloka. Even if you live for 100 years, this is the only way to live. If you live in any other way, it's going to make it worse for you. So it says, na anyatha. There is no other way than to follow the first shloka. Then na karma lipyate nare means then your actions won't bind you. Now let me come back to this whole concept of action reaction. Sanatana Dharma is based on two principles, unlike most of the other religions. The first principle is the principle of reincarnation. We don't believe that we are just born this time, this is the only birth that we have, and we will die and we will be done. Most of the other religions, many other religions, especially Abrahamic religions, they believe in the end of your journey with your death and the beginning of journey with your birth. But Sanatana Dharma does not believe in that. It believes you are a continuum because the space does not get destroyed even if Premamritam is built, expanded, or raised down. Space is space. Like that, as Brahman, we don't die. That is the idea of Sanatana Dharma. So we are called as Amrutasya Putraha. We are children of immortality, not children of our father, mother. We are children of immortality. Immortality does not die, so we don't die. That's why we have no fear of death. This is the idea. So it says that first is reincarnation, principle of reincarnation, that we take many lives after many times we take birth in different families, in different wombs, in different people. In fact, Shankaracharya laments, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jatare Shainam. Again I am born, again I die, again I reach the womb of another mother. Iha samsare bahudustare kripaya pare pahi murare. This samsara, this chakra of birth and death is so difficult to get rid of. God, only you can take me out of this. You only are my refuge. Praise Adi Shankaracharya in Bhaja Govindam. When a child is born, some children are born musicians, born painters, born artists, born orators, born leaders. Prodigies, we call them. Some people are not born equal. They don't even have a hand or a leg or a congenital heart disease, or they're deaf or dumb or autistic and whatever. Why this difference? If God is same and equal and loving to everybody, then why should He make some people be born in poorer families with handicapped limbs and all these? And why should some people born in rich families with all privileges? Because God has not decided that. Something has happened which has caused this. What is that? Our rishis say the previous life, whatever actions you have undertaken, the results of what of that is what you are reaping now. So that is why karma lipyate nare. Your actions should not be the decision making thing for your next life. How to undertake actions which will determine that you have at least better lives, if not no life or total liberation, at least you have a next life which is a good life. That depends on what you have done in the previous life. So the other principle is karma. So one is punarjanma or reincarnation, and karma or the action and reaction. These are the two principles, foundational principles of Sanatana Dharma, which are not there in many of the karma is still there. You go to heaven or a hell, but generally it is not mentioned the way we do that. It will lead to another lifetime, and the decision of what kind of life you'll have depends on what you have done in this life. So this is why, that's why dying thoughts, Krishna says, Kalevare, at the end of your life, whatever your final thoughts are, that is becomes the reason for you to be born again. And if your final thoughts are all greedy and angry and frustrated and irritated and desirous, you will be born accordingly in a life, in a family of people who are also like that. So it's very important that we do right action, righteousness. Right action is important. And how do you do right action? If you're guided by the right principles. If you don't have any principle, right moral principle, then you'll only do wrong actions. So this Upanishads again teaches what are the right ways of doing actions. What is the right action? Sacrifice and consume. Don't take another man's wealth. Believe in the unity and oneness of all existence as divinity. These are the right principles. And the right action is to sacrifice and consume. So this is what is saying. Even if you want to live for 100 years, live this way only. by sacrificing and consuming. If you live in any other way, beware. Your karmas will catch up with you. And next life is going to be accordingly miserable or happier based on what you have done. So this is the very second principle of Sanatana Dharma is explained here. Karma lipyate nare. This is the principle of Sanatana Dharma in a short quarter of a verse. It's been told that your actions will bind you. So what happens? The third shloka tells us, Asurya nam te loka andhena tamsa vritaha tamste pretyabhi gachanti eke chatmano janaha. Very, very powerful and it's a bitter truth. It's a very bitter truth. What it says, if you don't live like this, whether you live 100 years, 50 years, 30 years, depends on whatever your lifetime is. But if you don't live like this, what happens to you? He says, you will be pushed into terrible worlds of darkness. Asurya means demonic, dark worlds. Where do these demons live? In dark, and demons means those tamasic people who are cruel, who are rough, and who are criminal. They live in those dark lanes and dark areas. They can never come out in light because they're always scared of being caught. And only crime can be done in darkness. Now, this different story that today even daylight crimes and murders are happening. People have become so bad. But generally, in those times when these Upanishads were written, demons were seen as people hiding in dark areas. So what happens if you don't live like this? What will happen? Asurya nam te loka. You will be doomed. You will be confined. You will be condemned to live in areas in ways that are dark. Andhena tamsavrita. Blinding dark. Not even just dark. Blinding dark means absolutely you have no clue of where you are, what you are going to do with your life, how you are going to go forward from where you are. You are stuck in a dark, dark, blinding, dark place. It is only symbolism. There is no particular dark place. Now, don't compare it with the hell that is a very, very dark place. And mythology talks about various kinds of hell, which have different treatment for your different types of actions. Like that, to make us behave well, we were told this concept hell and heaven. But nevertheless, our scriptures and our concept believes that there are different types of lokas where we exist. What happens after we die? Of course, we are born again. But between two of these actions, birth and death, there is a time. Where are we? That's when this jivatma or soul gets stuck in these different worlds where it goes through different kinds of experiences. You can read all these things. Now it is scientifically also proven that there is a journey of a soul. And a lot of these psychotherapies, therapists, hypnotherapists have also proven it, and it's been published also. It's a published research now that there is a journey of a soul. You don't die, there is something that happens before you're born again. So this you can read, but what it says that you are condemned to such dark caves where there is no light. It means there is no happiness, there is no wisdom, there is no brightness, there is no joy. It is a sad, sorrowful, miserable, horrible hell like place you are condemned to. Why? After, when you do have pretya vigachanti, after you die, you go to such places, it is said. Because while you are alive, only police can condemn you to such places. But after you die, your karmas will condemn you wherever it needs to push you to. Why? After death, you go to these places because you have done wrong actions. And people who do wrong actions and are condemned to such terrible consequences are people who have killed themselves. Atmahano jana, as if you have committed suicide. What kind of suicide? Spiritual suicide. You killed yourself spiritually by not following these spiritual and moral principles. You denied yourself the opportunity to elevate and redeem yourself. Therefore, you have killed yourself. You have ruined yourself. That's what it means. Atmahano. You have hurt yourselves. You have killed yourselves. You have ruined yourselves. This is the idea of this sloka. So live in accordance with the principles of Isha Upanishad. Else, be doomed. That's what it is saying. Shankaracharya says, Vishwam tyaktva sapna vicharam. Think of the whole world as a dream and give up this pursuit of happiness and pleasures. If the dream is very detailed, it feels it is real. Like this dream of this world that we are in, it is so detailed. You can feel everything, touch, smell, taste, emotions you can feel. Therefore, it feels really very, very real. Whereas that dream, which lasts for a couple of minutes, at that point in time, that also felt equally real. Nobody can deny that. Only after waking up, you realize that that was the dream. That is the plight of Janaka Maharaja. He dreams one day that enemies have attacked and he has lost his kingdom and he has been banished from the kingdom. And now he's like a beggar roaming somewhere in the forest outside the boundaries of his kingdom. And he's so hungry. So he joins the line of beggars who are waiting for some gruel or food to be served by some charitable person. And when his turn comes, there's literally nothing left in the bowl. So the person looking at his plight scrapes the bottom of the vessel and gives him something to eat, just a little bit of gruel. And this Janaka Maharaja, as a beggar, is wanting to eat. Just then a kite swoops in and takes away that also, whatever he got. And he falls on the ground out of mere tiredness and what you say, fatigue. Aho, he shouts and falls, and he wakes up in his bed in this palace. Aho. And his wife, who's sleeping next to him, says, "What happened? What happened?" He says, "Enemies have attacked. I'm a beggar. I've lost everything." He said, "Calm down, calm down. You've been dreaming. You are very much in the bed. You are the king. I am your wife. We are all fine. No enemy has attacked." But he said, "No, that was such a real experience. I felt the pain. I felt the wounds. I felt everything. I felt the hunger. I felt the fatigue. So it is real," he says. No, she says, "This is real." No, no, this is a dream. That was real, he says. So wife is unable to convince him. So next day Ashtavakra is there and he asks Ashtavakra, "What's going on? What happened? I'm confused whether this is real or that was real." And that's when Ashtavakra says, "Neither that was real nor this was real. But that which was in both was real," he said. You were there also, you were here also. Your truth of existence is real. These situations of the dream are unreal. That's what Ashtavakra says. And it's a lot of philosophy today to digest. But the idea is that once you know this truth, all your fears will disappear. If it's like somebody who's sleeping and says, like you wake him up and he says, "You should have just waited for 5 minutes. I was about to bank the lottery check and I would have been a millionaire in 5 minutes. You woke me up and now I can't bank the check with the lottery one I won in dream." Does it make any sense to anybody? So when people says, "I'm starting a big business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that," I look at them and say, these are all trying to bank that lottery check. In this world, it feels so real, so it is real, but actually not real. So that's another theory. But the idea is that once you know the reality, you are redeemed. You're not stuck with these silly petty ego issues and attachments and all pursuit of all desires and pleasures, for which sake you ruin everything: your health, your happiness, your people in the family, your peace. Everything is destroyed because you're chasing ghosts. They don't exist. The happiness does not exist. It's a mirage. It only gives you the illusion of appearance, but it doesn't exist. So that is what happens to the ajnanis. Upanishads give us the jnana. That's why himsa gati avasadana, the destruction of delusion, the gati, the movement towards the truth, and ultimately the untying of all these wrong understanding, wrong desire, wrong action knots. This is what Upanishads should teach us. By the end we finish, we should feel like different people, not the same as we entered the room. And so they say that those who have got this opportunity of being born as a human birth, in a human birth, and the possibility of practicing such beautiful principles of Upanishads, if they don't practice it, they're condemned to a miserable life. That hell is, don't worry about whether really a place and address exists. Simply your misery in the life is the hell that you'll go through, the dark hell, because you are stuck with attachments and desires and miserable all the time. You don't want that misery, you want that ananda that they talked about. Then realize this truth, live with a sense of sacrifice, do not steal or grab more than what you require, and be happy, be free, be light. Less luggage, more comfort makes travel a pleasure, they say. It is written in every railway compartment in India. Less luggage, more comfort makes travel a pleasure. Why you need more luggage? Because you imagine that you need all of it. You may not need it, you imagine it. Likewise, take only so much as that is required. You lead a very happy, peaceful, burdenless, effortless life. That is the beauty of our scriptures and Upanishads. Fulfilling desire is not removing desires. Becoming desireless is removing desires. You put more fuel to the fire, you are not dousing the fire. You're only increasing the fire. You stop putting fuel into the fire, fire will die. Pursuing the desires is what makes the desires come back again and again to you. The day you don't pursue your stupid desires, not the desire for God, that day you are free. That freedom is mukti. That freedom is ultimate state of existence. That is the time when you really feel one with the divine. And you have no more fears left. So this is the call of the Upanishads, that be fearless, be selfless. Abhihi, 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 Upanishads say. Be fearless, fearless, fearless. But fearless is not possible unless you are desireless. And desireless is not possible unless you know what is right, what is wrong. And that right knowledge is what Upanishads are teaching us. So this spiritual wisdom of Upanishads is the only panacea for all the problems of the world. And that's why I'm very particular that we learn it, we practice it, and then we promote and propagate it. There are so many countries of the world who do not even know that such a thing exists. For them, you only live once, YOLO. And so they want to just enjoy life. They're 70 and 80 and still they want to enjoy life. Little more left. Let us finish enjoying life. Because we may die anytime. So let us enjoy life. Their idea of enjoyment itself is wrong. Our enjoyment lies in happiness of all. Our happiness lies in enjoyment of all. We are not selfish. We shouldn't be. Because we are followers of Sanatana Dharma, which believes in equality, oneness, unity, and divinity of all. Therefore, we cannot afford to be selfish. We cannot afford to be hating or harming anyone. We can only help if we can. That is the idea of Sanatana Dharma. So be true followers of Sanatana Dharma by understanding the Upanishad and practicing this.